Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pastrami Nation, the meat of pop culture. My name is Nolan Smith, and joining us today for Pastrami Nation, we have Rebecca Benson.
Hello.
And we have the one and only Kevin Hoskinson.
Hey, guys.
And joining us for this interview, he's been on our podcast before. He has a brand new book out on Kickstarter right now called The Polar Paradox. We'd like to welcome Frank Martin.
Hello.
Yeah, Frank. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Oh, great.
So let's go ahead and I wanted to go ahead and pass the mic to Rebecca.
Sure.
Yeah. So as we just said, welcome back. And if you could please tell us a little bit about Polar Paradox.
Sure. Polar Paradox. It's a two-part sci-fi adventure comic. There's a little bit of mystery in there too. Fairly basic premise. A group of scientists, they're uncharting waters off the coast of Antarctica. This takes place in the near future, and they go missing. So then a group of rescue divers have to go in after them, and they go to this uncharted world, and they encounter crazy sea life, and it's kind of a real treacherous mission.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very cool. So what?
You don't have to tell me when you could go pee-pee. You could just go. You know that?
Real life, everybody. This happens.
Right. Yep.
It happens a lot.
Mommy, she would love to know.
Wonderful world of zooming from home.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I got we all had the chance to read the book earlier. I thought it was fantastic. What were kind of some of your main inspirations for writing this book? I mean, it's got elements of all kinds of cool sci-fi, stories that I love. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Journey to the Center of the Earth type stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I played on a lot of the classic sci-fi stuff in devising the story, but really the main inspiration didn't come from a work of fiction at all. I read National Geographic religiously. And
cool.
I got a subscription, and I read it cover to cover every issue. And a couple years ago, they did a story that was basically the first half of the premise. A bunch of scientists, they cut a hole in the ice. They go diving into a place nobody's ever been to before, and they snapped a whole bunch of pictures of all these crazy animals that evolved in all these wild paths. And I'm like, this is perfect for a sci-fi setting. So I was kind of developing ideas and pitches with an artist at the time. So I kind of screenshotted a bunch of these images, a bunch of these animals. And I said, what do you think? Can you into this world? And he goes, absolutely. So we ran with it. And before we know it, we have a comic.
Cool.
Makes me want to go back and read all those National Geographics. I was the same way. Every month I would buy them, read them cover to cover because just, real life is so inspiring. So, man.
I stole a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just the pictures too. It's also the details that are in the story. And I kind of nitpicked and grabbed them and I threw them in the book. Like for instance, they were talking about how it was so cold when they were doing this mission that they would cut a hole in the ice and they would go grab their gear and they would refreeze before they had a chance to dive in.
Oh wow!
So, yeah,
that's cool.
That was a little detail I kind of took out of the story and then I threw it into the comic. So a little stuff like that lends a little scientific credibility to the book.
That's great. No, and you did mention that you were tossing this idea around with the artist. How did you connect with the artist for this book?
So we met at a local con. It wasn't too big. It was kind of a regional con, and I was tabling, selling some of my books, and he was attending, walking around, and he said, "Wow, these are really cool. You a comic writer?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I'm an artist." I think he went to the Joe Kubert School of Art, so he definitely has got a great background. And we talked a little bit. We exchanged information. We started emailing back and forth, and kind of just hit it off. And it doesn't really. A lot of times it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you guys just aren't on the same page, and we can't figure out how to start a project. But this was one of the ideas I was really into, and he was super into it too. He developed a whole bunch of different designs for the suits and the submarine, so he was super into it. And as a writer, it's awesome to find an artist that wants to draw something you want to write. You don't want to force anything on them to make them do something that they're bored with or just not into.
So for the characters, are they from the National Geographic or were you watching something? Because I felt like I was on, their vessels and everything with them.
No, I mean, not really. The characters are just kind of, especially from the divers, I just kind of took the standard archetypes of the team dynamic. You know, you got the cocky guy that always wants to mouth off, and then you got the leader, you know, like the Leonardo of the group, and then you have the soul of the team, you know, the heart that kind of glues them all together. So I kind of took those tropes and I kind of built characters around that, because when you're on an adventure, you need that kind of dynamic to play off of each other.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like who will survive kind of thing. And, you know.
Yeah. And that's kind of the cool thing about doing something like this, to create your own property, where they're your characters, you can put them through the gauntlet, torture them, do whatever you want with them, kill them if you need to. Whereas something like a book with the big two, and you're putting a whole bunch of characters together, you know, you don't really have that sense of if the stakes, you know, because you're not going to kill off Batman if they go on a mission together. So it's awesome. You never really know what's going to happen around the corner.
Literally, and you're, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, talk to us about the Kickstarter project. How has it been going so far?
So Kickstarter is going pretty good. It's going to be a 3-week campaign. It launched on January 12th. So now we're about a week in. We got 2 weeks left. Last I checked, we have like $30 to our goal. So I'm kind of like, the closer you get, the harder it seems to become. It's one of those things. So yeah, I'm pushing on, and we should be hopefully hitting our goal soon. It got standard cover, and Antonio, the artist, he did the standard cover. It's really cool because it's a double page like ensemble spread, and he cut it down the middle. So one cover is for part 1 and the other cover is part 2, and they're going to connect together. So I thought, I'm super into that idea. I have it on the Kickstarter page, so you kind of see what it looks like. I got a variant book, print set available, so kind of standard Kickstarter stuff to kind of round out the experience. A lot of collectors are into that stuff.
Oh, very cool.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I love the idea that it connects it. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's I came up with the idea. I said, let's do an ensemble piece where we get all the characters in there, all the animals, and he really took that idea and just exploded it. It's really this humongous thing where they're like in Antarctica, all the characters, and it's just a wild cover set that I think a lot of people are going to dig.
Absolutely.
You got that creepy squid in there right on the cover. That one of the cool parts of the book, like I'm just looking at him. I mean, yeah.
He throws a whole bunch of different animals in there. There's on the other side, I think we got crabs and sharks. So the animals is one of the more fun parts of definitely the story.
Definitely, and I got to say, the art here is just outstanding, man. I mean,
Lily, go get mommy. So that's your water. I can't fill it up. I'm talking.
You could if you wanted. We would wait. But yeah, I was saying the art here is just absolutely amazing. So detailed, and once you get to that the hidden part, and you see the animals and the lush environment,
the double page spread where it opens up.
Ooh, man, yeah,
that's my art team. This is the anchor and the colorist. Antonio did it all himself, and he initially didn't want to do the colors. He was kind of hesitant to do it, and I said, you know what, just give it a shot, see how they came up with. And talking to people, the colors is one of their favorite parts of the art. They really pop, and especially we had to do that because when we're down underwater, there's no light source. There's no sun, so we had to find a way to light the scene. And luckily, a lot of animals down there that have bioluminescence, they light themselves up. So we kind of took that idea and ran with it to make them get wild colors on the jellyfish and the squid and all that stuff.
And it's well achieved. I mean, I don't feel bad sharing this picture because I know you shared it on the social media, but that
I share. I go crazy. I mean, I'm not that worried about spoiling or anything to drive people in. So yeah, definitely that one image of jellyfish attacking the squid.
Yeah.
It drives people crazy.
It does. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about it. You want to keep looking at it, but you don't. Like,
Right. Especially that, you know, oh shoot, what's gonna happen now?
It's a weird story because when I talk to people, it has elements of horror, but it's not. I wouldn't really book it as a horror book. You know, I wouldn't market it like that.
Right.
But there are some people that they're scared of swimming in the ocean. You know, but they're in. I've spoken to one guy. He's into sci-fi, but he doesn't like the ocean. So these are kind of his love and his hate are kind of combined a little. And he's like, it was terrifying me, but I couldn't stop reading it. So it definitely has that horror element vibe to it a little, even though it's just not a straight up horror book.
right.
Yeah, it wasn't quite, or like you said, and you know, very family friendly, and you know, you don't really have to worry about too much.
Yeah. It's not meant to scare, not meant to have the gore, but there's eels and they attack you. So
Yeah.
it's a little terrifying at times. Go find mommy.
But she's on her bike.
She's on her bike.
Oh man.
Never ends. I guess you could say.
No, we understand. So can you tell us just a little bit about your your history with writing comics? How long have you doing it for?
I started writing. I would just say I fell in love with writing when, in elementary school, the teacher always gives out creative writing assignments. They tell the kids to write stories, and then they move on to something else and they go on another assignment. I kind of love that idea. So I kind of never stopped writing. Kids, especially when they're young, they want to write for their favorite characters, and that moves to fan fiction. So that I kind of continued on that trajectory. So I primarily became a prose writer, writing short stories and writing novels, but I always read comics. So at some point in time, my love of writing and my love of comics kind of collided, and I gave it a shot to try to write comics. And I've been at it for a couple years now. It's a steep learning curve. It's totally different, than writing prose. A lot of the building blocks are the same as far as characters and story, but I consider comic writing like putting a puzzle together. There's a lot more pieces involved. And so I've taken a bunch of classes, worked on short stories. Nolan and I spoke about the Macabre Motel, which was like my one shot. So I guess I went from short stories to kind of building up into this two-parter, which is a little bit of a mini series.
Right. Very cool.
Are you able to talk about little tidbits about part 2?
There we go.
Oh, what's going on with part 2? I'm lettering it now, and I've never had this feeling where I'm working on something that's a continuation of another story, and I'm super excited about it, and I want to share it to people, but nobody's read part 1 yet, so it's weird to share something that don't have context for. So I would say I'm about 90% done lettering it, and I'm lettering it as the pages come in, so I'm still waiting on the final art, but we're almost done. It should launch in June or July. So not too long from now. And the way I describe the story is that it's the polar paradox. So part 1 deals heavily with the polar side of things. It's the diving in Antarctica, the adventure side, and in part 2 we really get heavily into the paradox side. It's more story driven, it's more plot heavy, and we really lean hard on the mystery side of the adventure.
Oh, see, now you're gonna make us wait a
can't
long
wait for
time.
that. Yeah, I want to read it now.
You're gonna have to wait. I had a lot of fun with this book because I played around with some splash pages and some double page spreads. So it was just cool just playing around with stuff and seeing what works. And Antonio was great because I wrote some stuff in the script. And I said to him, I have no idea if you're going to be able to envision what I'm writing here. So if you don't, just let me know and I'll kind of map it out for you. And I did. And I'm the worst artist ever. So it's kind of just crazy blueprint of just chicken scratch all over the place. And then it's weird to do that, send it to him. And then he sends me back exactly what I was asking for. So it was a great working experience.
Nice.
I want to hold it, but what if I want to drink it? Then you got to let go.
That is true. Oh wow! So the book, the Kickstarter wraps up. You said it's a 3-week Kickstarter. So we're in week 2 now.
Yeah, we just started week 2. You want to show them your Elmo Potty book? I don't know if copyright will let you. Yeah, I got 2 weeks left. I'm not even. Everybody asks me about stretch goals. I'm like, I'm one of these people. I don't even think about stretch goals until
until you reach the goal, right?
Yeah, that's when I start thinking about it. I mean, I never count my chickens before they hatch. I'm too much of a pessimist to do that.
And we'll make sure we put the link for the Kickstarter on. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in that link. If you're watching the audio version of this, it'll be in the description on your audio part. So make sure you check it out. Frank Martin has delivered some amazing books in the past, and if you're backing his Kickstarter, like, he's going to deliver. This isn't somebody that, like, you're backing him and then 3 years down the road you're like, whatever happened to that Frank Martin guy? He delivers.
I wish people thought about me when I leave their lives, but I don't launch a project unless I'm at least 90% completed with it. So then by the time the project campaign ends, I would be 100% complete, because I have so much stuff lined up that if I don't have something finished, if I have to say, oh, now I got to go and finish it, everything else just gets backed up. So yeah, as soon as this campaign ends, I place the print order with the printer the next day. And I try to fulfill. So I have fulfillment set for March, but I wouldn't be surprised if people start getting their books by the end of February. So, because it's just, as soon as I place the print order, my printer's pretty quick, and then I send out books as soon as I get them. But the only thing that holds things up at this point is the postal service, because it takes like a month and a half to get books.
Yeah, and that's out of everybody's hands.
Yeah. Have you? I sent out your Macaw Motel, like, I don't remember, a week and a half ago.
Yep, I got it yesterday.
Oh. So there we go. Is it in good shape?
It did. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it.
Last time I sent him a book, he told me it looked like a dog got a hold of it or something.
And I've been in the postal service too.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. But nope, this one, it's right there. It arrived perfect.
It's just the cost of doing business. You got to assume at least 1 or 2 packages are going to come damaged or missing, but for this last campaign, it was more than normal. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had one guy that said, your package arrived in my mailbox. It was open and there was nothing inside. So he delivered it an empty thing. So.
Wow. Well, at least I didn't have that happen. I mean, I gotta at least be happy about that.
So, but yeah. Hi, David.
Now, I got to ask you, because you've done Kickstarter quite a bit. Now, for somebody who's thinking if Kickstarter is a viable option, like what advice would you give them if they're thinking about launching a Kickstarter?
So my advice for somebody that's not familiar with Kickstarter, never done it before, is that it's more of a path to success rather than a means to success, if that makes any sense. Meaning that you can't just put your book on there. It's not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. You still have to really put the work in before you ever launch and build up an audience, build up a following, mailing list, whatever you have to do. You have to get your strategy, your game plan in order before you hit the launch button. So it's creating the thing is probably the easiest part. The hardest part is rallying people to your side to back it. So don't expect to just put it on there, tell you what the story is about, put a couple images and be funded. You have to have realistic expectations. You got to put the work in. And if you do that over time, Kickstarter becomes a cumulative effort where every campaign you run, you're going to get a little bit better. The backers that like your work will follow you and your reach will get bigger. So just patience and put your head down and start working.
There we go.
And you had mentioned going to a local, like a little Comic Con. Once we can do that, do you think that that's an option for you later down the road?
I like local cons for a whole bunch of reasons. Obviously, they don't have you're in the way. Obviously, they don't have the reach of like the internet, but at the same time, the interactions you have with a con are so much stronger. You know, they're personal. There's nothing quite like putting a book in someone's hands and having them physically flip through the pages. So while you might reach more people doing social media online, you might make more of an impression on someone if you pitch them face to face and you see them face to face. So I never rule out cons. I still have people that I met at my very first convention like 6 years ago that still follow. So you can't rule them out. It's all part of the big package, you know. There's not any one thing that's going to contribute to success. It's all kind of part of the package.
Right.
Why aren't you in bed? I know, because you can't pass up an audience. That's why.
That's what it is.
It's a captive one.
Okay, well, Frank, when it comes to finding you online, how can people find you online? We'll put the Kickstarter link, but how else can they find you?
So I'm really simple. I'm Frank the Writer. So you can find me at frankthewriter.com is my website. Got a whole bunch of free stuff there. And you can sign up for my mailing list. That's the easiest way to follow what I'm into. Also, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm at Frank the Writer there as well. So yeah, I'm pretty easy.
Great handle, man. Like, that's gold, right? Like, how many writers named Frank out there, and you were able to get Frank the Writer? Like, that's.
You know what? I have a funny story with that. So I grabbed Twitter and Instagram at Frank the Writer. But in Facebook, they have handles. So if you have like an author page or whatever, you could put in a handle and it'll go right to it. But somebody already had Frank the Writer.
Oh no.
So I was like, I can't have it being the only one that's not part of the same thing. I was Frank the author or something like that. Frank Martin author.
Oh no.
But there's a so somebody told me that if somebody has a handle and they haven't posted in a long time, you can contact Facebook and they'll yank it and give it to you. So I did that. I was a little sneaky. I messaged Facebook and I said, this person haven't posted. I would like their social media handle. And they gave it to me. So I was a little bit of a thief there. But you know what? I got the trifecta. So
they weren't using it. And
Frank the Thief doesn't work though.
Yeah. No, Frank the Writer works. Across all platforms, Frank the Writer.
It does.
So
yeah, I don't have to say if you want to follow me on this, I'm on this handle and this handle on this platform. So
right.
Nope, it's really easy. So make sure follow Frank Martin, Frank the Writer. Make sure you check out his Kickstarter project, The Polar Paradox, Part 1. Part 2 will be coming later this year, but you have time right now to be a part of Part 1. So
yes.
Make sure you do that. I'll be checking that actually right after we get off this podcast.
Back it so I can afford a babysitter.
That's a stretch goal.
First stretch goal, Frank gets a babysitter.
That's gold. Well, Frank, we want to thank you once again. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And we definitely look forward to more of your works in the future and more for the Polar Paradox. So.
Stop, I can't hear.
But thank you again, Frank. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm sorry my gremlins aren't in bed.
You are perfectly fine, man. No worries. All right, signing off. This is Nolan Smith. We are Pastrami Nation. We are the meat of pop culture.